Welcome back to Brake Fay. Today we've got a semi-ordinary vehicle by a not ordinary guy. Micah, tell us about your Colorado and why it's such an upgrade.
Wow, that's an introduction, Jack. But yes, today we've got my 2016 Chevrolet Colorado Z71.
And that's the highest trim model, right?
That is the highest trim model. The only things that this truck does not have that were optional on top of this was sunroof, four-wheel drive, and Bose audio system. But it is definitely a 2016 Chevy, and we'll get into a little bit of that. But this is a very good car, a good truck for like what you're gonna need a typical truck for. I mean, it does all the truck things. It's got a great 5.5-foot bed. I can stick almost everything that I need to in that bed, but I still get a lot of the luxury comforts of having a smaller vehicle, and quite frankly, it handles a lot like a car. It's very impressive.
Well, a quick question is, what's under the hood?
Well, Jack, I'm glad you asked. Under the hood, we have a 3.6 liter V6. The big thing about this V6 is it's the same V6 that GM has made for decades almost at this point. This has been the same V6 they had in all of their SUV models. Chevrolet Camaro V6 had the same one in there. And quite frankly, I think for what it is, it has plenty of torque and horsepower.
Well, one thing also is you've got a lot of space to work on things there. It would only be nice if you had that in your 5-cylinder Trailblazer, so this is quite the upgrade.
It was a V6 after I got it working.
An inline 6,
yeah,
correct?
I mean, we need to get into the Trailblazer at some point because I loved that car, but it almost seems like they left it open enough to do a V8, which would have been incredible. But no, we got the V6 as your top horsepower option. But what was interesting about these is you not only had the V6 option, you did have a 4-cylinder option, a 2.5 liter, but you also had a 4-cylinder Duramax diesel.
You know, I've actually seen a couple of those on the road, and it's very interesting because such a small truck having a diesel.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem American, but it's very, I don't know, I'm almost just interested to see one of those.
But that diesel actually had more torque than the V6 model did. I don't believe it had any more horsepower, but it had more torque and a higher towing capacity than the V6.
Show us the bed and maybe the inside, because this is the crew cab configuration, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got on this vehicle is the nice upgraded alloy wheels.
And those look sweet on it,
really,
honestly.
Honestly, one of my favorite rims onto this kind of era of Chevy. The tailgate is one of my favorite things. You ready for this? This was a Z71 feature. Oh no. Ah, nice and soft.
It only confuses you once you use this for a while and you swap back to an older truck and it just slams and hits the ground.
Yeah. The liner is also from the factory, kind of a rhino liner material. I've done all kinds of just throwing things in here. Never nicked it once. Got some nice hooks right here so we can hook anything we need to into it. So the truck bed is plenty nice.
You've got a bit of glue around that though. What's up with that?
Yes. So like any good pickup truck with its truck bed light, you have to have a leak after a few years straight through the light. And this one was no exception. I would go through a car wash and I would look in the back and I would just have a flood of water coming into the bed of the truck. I'm like, oh no. So I finally got myself basically some liquid gasket and I put it all the way around that light. No water leaking through it at all. Something else that's kind of unique about the Z71, I don't know if they did put this on the lower tier models, that is the footsteps here. This is honestly so nice. It's
like a man step.
Yeah, but it's only like 6 inches, but hey, 6 inches is plenty.
So how about we jump into the interior? So the crew cab configuration, I've ridden this truck a few times. It's very spacious.
Yeah, a ton of space for a truck. So kind of getting into the interior a little bit, GM has not exactly been famous for high quality interiors. However, I also had a 2010 Camaro SS, and it also had a fantastic interior, the same way I feel about this one. Something happened to GM engineers in 2010. I think they all collectively hit their heads on some ceiling or something like that, and they went, oh, this is how you make a decent interior. I mean, it's not anything super stellar, but I will say, as far as an interior from GM goes, I think that they've really stepped it up around this time period. And as you know, Jack, one of my favorite features that is exclusive to the Z71 is remote start. Just press a couple buttons and we start right up.
That's quite nice.
It's actually very nice when it's like super cold outside, you want to get that engine going.
Does it automatically regulate the heat or the
It
AC?
will turn on the AC and everything, and
Okay.
I've also noticed that if it's below a certain temperature, it'll kick the seat warmers on.
Oh,
and so
very
you'll get in and
nice.
your butt's nice and toasty. So you want to take it for a spin?
Let's ride. Ooh, it's a bougie interior. I'm not used to trucks being so nice. I gotta wait for this stupid Golf.
Golf GTI. We need to get with that person.
I have driven this truck a handful of times, and just to give you context, I drive a truck that's from 2002. This is quite the nice upgrade as far as creature comforts. It also is, I mean, honestly, if I was going to get a new truck, I definitely would be considering a Colorado because overall, it's very comfortable, seems to be pretty well reliable, established, you know.
There's plenty of them on the road, so parts are not going to be an issue for a long, long time.
The big sad disappointment, though, is that this radio is on the wrong firmware because Micah here has an Android. I have an iPhone which works perfectly, but it doesn't work with Android Auto, which is really weird.
Yeah, GM, with their infotainment systems, they make everybody pissed off almost every single automotive release because every new car they come out with, they make it a little bit worse and a little bit worse. Luckily, I would say that this one is at least in the time period where it was decent. This was pretty early in Android Auto, pretty early in iPhone and everything, but yes, they only came out with an Android Auto update to this radio in 2016, halfway through the model year, and so that tells me that this truck was in the first half of the model year because
the first generation.
You're right. I don't have Android Auto capabilities, but with a firmware update that should be fixable, I just have to get it to the dealership, which I have not done yet.
Well, I mean, everything else pretty much works great. I do like that, I mean, the amount of buttons here, like I'm not a big button guy as far as like an overwhelming amount. However, I feel like this is a decent control center. You've got, of course, your towing, which is something that's the Z71 package, all the towing.
The towing package, I believe, came standard with all the models of the Colorado, but check me with that. It was the same thing with the Trailblazer. Every time you bought a Trailblazer, it came with the tow package.
Okay, that's nice, and that's
but not with the other brand models like the GMC or something like that.
Ah, okay.
But yeah, as far as the controls go, I love tactile. I mean, I'm okay with a touchscreen, probably more than most people. But if I can get myself physical buttons, I will prefer the physical buttons, and this one has plenty of them.
The A-pillar is a little, because of the way the windshield slant is a little in the way, but honestly, I don't have many blind spots in this, which is quite nice.
Yeah, the visibility is fantastic. Definitely a lot better than my Camaro that I had.
Well, I mean, the Camaro is one of the hardest vehicles, I think, to see out of.
Oh yeah, especially when you get into the Gen 6. That does not have hardly any visibility. But it does have an auto tinting mirror, which is actually super nice to have.
What's this red button do right here?
I would not press that.
Yeah, after going over that speed bump back there, I get what you're talking about the car driving experience, because in most trucks, I mean, it's very stiff.
Yeah.
It's got a nice soft suspension, although you're able to still tow stuff and it's not completely, you're not doing a squat the whole time. Like if we go a little speed, I guess that was a little stiff, but I mean, this is a good daily driver. You're not feeling like it's a really bulky vehicle. F-250, you're not having to maneuver in between places. It feels very nimble. And of course, it's got the backup camera on it, so you don't have to worry about that since it's, after 2016.
Oh yeah, and it does tow really, really well, kind of getting back to that tow package. I pull a enclosed trailer with it all the time, and I can feel it on there a little bit, but it is kind of shocking how little the trailer affects the drivability of this truck. But getting back to that interior point, I mean, usually it does still feel plasticky, right? Yeah. But I mean, for goodness sakes, all these people who complain about plasticky interiors, it's like, what do you expect? Leather? I mean, it's a work truck.
Well, I mean, if you're buying an F-150, King Ranch Edition, then you need that.
Well, yeah, you'll probably do that and put on
I'm sorry.
You gotta stop, dude. Okay.
I'm sorry.
We don't always get along, folks. But no, it's true. If you're getting like a luxury foreman's truck, something like that, I could see having a nicer interior being nice, but I don't know. At least for me, I don't have such a problem with the plasticky interiors like some people make it out to be.
Well, also there's the fact of longevity. I mean, this is coming up on 10 years now.
No cracking, nothing. While the infotainment system does lack Android Auto, it does make up for it in a few ways. One, the media controls that they've decided on are actually really nice. I do feel just about as luxurious using that as I do Android Auto. But the other thing as well is its voice control for Bluetooth calling is really, really good. I have all my contacts synced with it. I, press it and say, call my wife, boom, calls my wife. It's a really nice feature to have. A video ago, we drove your Cadillac, and you mentioned how there are no buttons on the steering wheel, which is pretty great. But I will say, the buttons that I do have on this steering wheel, I like it a lot.
Yeah, the buttons on here, like this is not bad. I'm not a big fan of the kind of like pressure buttons here. However, any steering wheel that allows you to grab the bottom is a great one in my book, because there's so many wheels that like it's so irritating to hold. Also, it's got some get up and go.
Yeah, it's really
I was
not
a little
bad.
surprised actually.
Yeah, it's got a good little bit of grip for it. Now, I do not have the 4-wheel drive model, but with rear-wheel drive, I have been shocked as to what it can do off-road. I've taken it off-road a few times. You make sure you got traction control on, and I'll even put it in hauling mode. It's got this trailer button right there. I'll put that because then it puts it into like lower gearing and everything. It has done really, really well. I mean, it'll start sliding everything, and then the traction control finds grip, and then just kicks it on and it goes.
So you could actually hit a few trails potentially with this.
I think for a rear-wheel drive truck, I think that this is very comfortable off-road.
And one thing I'll give GM also as far as their design is the radio looks like it's supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Like in a lot of Toyota vehicles especially, it looks like that they added it in 2016 then because they had to, and then they were just like, okay, we'll just leave it like right there. This is a very nice cockpit. It's not exactly driver oriented, as it's not like leaning toward the driver, but everything's very accessible. And I really like the main gauges right here, especially with like, I don't really have a lot of cars that have the number in the center, but that is kind of a nice feature.
Yeah, the digital display in the center, it cycles through everything, your TPMS sensors, all of that kind of stuff. And honestly, I really, really like how that is laid out. So I was able to buy this one for $24,000.
Okay, how many miles?
Out the door. It had 33,000 miles at the time, but now I'm sitting at 55,000. So really, it's not that bad of a value proposition, I would say.
Well, that is quite a nice, comfy truck, Micah, which, here's to many, many more years of this.
Yeah, and at least a couple 100,000 more miles. Because
Yeah.
my plan when I bought this truck was I wanted something nice that would finally last me a good long while, because I had gone through a series of some bad vehicles. And so I bought this one with as low a mileage as possible, and it has been fantastic in the couple of years that I've had it.
Well, I don't think you went wrong with this, and if you've got some interesting takes on the Chevrolet Colorado, let us know down in the comments. If there's any vehicles you're interested in seeing, let us know down as well.
Yeah, we're expanding Brake Fade and its library all the time, so if you guys have something special you'd like to see on the channel, let us know.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Get her, she's putting on a zipper.
I'm so glad I got that. Okay.